This is Chapter 2 of Following the Equator. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Following the Equator by Mark Twain, Chapter 2. Change of Costume, Fish, Snake, and Boomerang Stories, Tests of Memory, A Brahmin Expert, General Grant's Memory, A Delicately Improper Tale. When in doubt, tell the truth. Pudd'nhead Wilson's New Calendar. About 4 days out from Victoria we plunged into hot weather, and all the male passengers put on white linen clothes. 1 or 2 days later we crossed the 25th parallel of north latitude, and then, by order, the officers of the ship laid away their blue uniforms and came out in white linen ones. All the ladies were in white by this time. This prevalence of snowy costumes gave the promenade deck an invitingly cool and cheerful and picnicky aspect. From my diary: there are several sorts of ills in the world from which a person can never escape altogether, let him journey as far as he will. One escapes from one breed of an ill only to encounter another breed of it. We have come far from the snake liar and the fish liar, and there was rest and peace in the thought. But now we have reached the realm of the boomerang liar, and sorrow is with us once more. The first officer has seen a man try to escape from his enemy by getting behind a tree, but the enemy sent his boomerang sailing into the sky far above and beyond the tree, then it turned, descended, and killed the man. The Australian passenger has seen this thing done to 2 men, behind 2 trees, and by the one arrow. This being received with a large silence that suggested doubt, he buttressed it with the statement that his brother once saw the boomerang kill a bird away off 100 yards and bring it to the thrower. But these are ills which must be borne. There is no other way. The talk passed from the boomerang to dreams, usually a fruitful subject, afloat or ashore, but this time the output was poor. Then it passed to instances of extraordinary memory, with better results. Blind Tom, the negro pianist, was spoken of, and it was said that he could accurately play any piece of music, howsoever long and difficult, after hearing it once, and that 6 months later he could accurately play it again, without having touched it in the interval. One of the most striking of the stories told was furnished by a gentleman who had served on the staff of the Viceroy of India. He read the details from his notebook, and explained that he had written them down right after the consummation of the incident which they described, because he thought that if he did not put them down in black and white he might presently come to think he had dreamed them or invented them. The Viceroy was making a progress, and among the shows offered by the Maharaja of Mysore for his entertainment was a memory exhibition. The Viceroy and 30 gentlemen of his suite sat in a row, and the memory expert, a high-caste Brahmin, was brought in and seated on the floor in front of them. He said he knew but 2 languages, the English and his own, but would not exclude any foreign tongue from the test to be applied to his memory. Then he laid before the assemblage his program, a sufficiently extraordinary one. He proposed that one gentleman should give him 1 word of a foreign sentence, and tell him its place in the sentence. He was furnished with the French word et, and was told it was second in a sentence of 3 words. The next gentleman gave him the German word verloren, and said it was the third in a sentence of 4 words. He asked the next gentleman for 1 detail in a sum in addition, another for 1 detail in a sum of subtraction, others for single details in mathematical problems of various kinds. He got them. Intermediates gave him single words from sentences in Greek, Latin, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and other languages, and told him their places in the sentences. When at last everybody had furnished him a single rag from a foreign sentence or a figure from a problem, he went over the ground again, and got a second word and a second figure, and was told their places in the sentences and the sums, and so on and so on. He went over the ground again and again until he had collected all the parts of the sums and all the parts of the sentences, and all in disorder, of course, not in their proper rotation. This had occupied 2 hours. The Brahmin now sat silent and thinking a while, then began and repeated all the sentences, placing the words in their proper order, and untangled the disordered arithmetical problems, and gave accurate answers to them all. In the beginning he had asked the company to throw almonds at him during the 2 hours, he to remember how many each gentleman had thrown. But none were thrown, for the Viceroy said that the test would be a sufficiently severe strain without adding that burden to it. General Grant had a fine memory for all kinds of things, including even names and faces, and I could have furnished an instance of it if I had thought of it. The first time I ever saw him was early in his first term as President. I had just arrived in Washington from the Pacific coast, a stranger and wholly unknown to the public, and was passing the White House one morning when I met a friend, a senator from Nevada. He asked me if I would like to see the President. I said I should be very glad, so we entered. I supposed that the President would be in the midst of a crowd, and that I could look at him in peace and security from a distance, as another stray cat might look at another king. But it was in the morning, and the Senator was using a privilege of his office which I had not heard of, the privilege of intruding upon the Chief Magistrate's working hours. Before I knew it, the Senator and I were in the presence, and there was none there but we three. General Grant got slowly up from his table, put his pen down, and stood before me with the iron expression of a man who had not smiled for 7 years, and was not intending to smile for another 7. He looked me steadily in the eyes, mine lost confidence and fell. I had never confronted a great man before, and was in a miserable state of funk and inefficiency. The Senator said, "Mr. President, may I have the privilege of introducing Mr. Clemens?" The President gave my hand an unsympathetic wag, and dropped it. He did not say a word, but just stood. In my trouble I could not think of anything to say. I merely wanted to resign. There was an awkward pause, a dreary pause, a horrible pause. Then I thought of something, and looked up into that unyielding face, and said timidly, "Mr. President, I am embarrassed. Are you?" His face broke, just a little, a wee glimmer, the momentary flicker of a summer lightning smile, 7 years ahead of time, and I was out and gone as soon as it was. 10 years passed away before I saw him the second time. Meantime I was become better known, and was one of the people appointed to respond to toasts at the banquet given to General Grant in Chicago by the Army of the Tennessee when he came back from his tour around the world. I arrived late at night and got up late in the morning. All the corridors of the hotel were crowded with people waiting to get a glimpse of General Grant when he should pass to the place whence he was to review the great procession. I worked my way by the suite of packed drawing-rooms, and at the corner of the house I found a window open where there was a roomy platform decorated with flags and carpeted. I stepped out onto it, and saw below me millions of people blocking all the streets, and other millions caked together in all the windows and on all the housetops around. These masses took me for General Grant, and broke into volcanic explosions and cheers, but it was a good place to see the procession, and I stayed. Presently I heard the distant blare of military music, and far up the street I saw the procession come in sight, cleaving its way through the huzzaing multitudes, with Sheridan, the most martial figure of the war, riding at its head in the dress uniform of a lieutenant general. And now General Grant, arm in arm with Major Carter Harrison, stepped out on the platform, followed 2 and 2 by the badged and uniformed reception committee. General Grant was looking exactly as he had looked upon that trying occasion of 10 years before, all iron and bronze self-possession. Mr. Harrison came over and led me to the General and formally introduced me. Before I could put together the proper remark, General Grant said, "Mr. Clemens, I am not embarrassed. Are you?" And that little 7-year smile twinkled across his face again. 17 years have gone by since then, and today in New York the streets are a crush of people who are there to honor the remains of the great soldier as they pass to their final resting place under the monument. And the air is heavy with dirges and the boom of artillery, and all the millions of America are thinking of the man who restored the Union and the flag, and gave to democratic government a new lease of life, and, as we may hope and do believe, a permanent place among the beneficent institutions of men. We had one